gross anatomy. It's really when you start to get down into the nitty-gritty of the kidney and stuff that, you know, will become more difficult. So basically, you got your two kidneys. You got tubes that take the urine from the kidneys down to the urinary bladder. So these are the ureters. Ureters. This is the urinary bladder. Now, in the urinary bladder, you're going to have the smooth muscle layer, which is called the detrusor muscle. And everything should be listed on the sheet. So the muscle in here is the detrusor muscle. Detrusor muscle. You notice it's got rugae just like the stomach because it increases surface area and stuff. And then you have this triangle here, which is basically the trigone of the bladder. And the trigone of the bladder is actually going to come from the two ureteral openings, the two ureters, and the internal urethral orifice. So the borders of the trigone are the two ureteral openings from the ureters and the internal urethral orifice. Is this a male or a female?
Male.
We don't know. I may think it's a male. I may think it's a female. I guess most of you are still asleep. It's a male. This is a male. Here's the prostate gland. It's just inferior to the bladder. The main differences between the male and the female urogenital system, besides the obvious, is the fact that in the male you have a common tube for expelling semen and urine. The urethra in the male is for both reproductive and urinary function. In the female, you have two separate systems there. You have the vaginal canal for reproduction, and you have the urethra for urinary. Okay, so this is the bladder, and this is the prostate. Okay, and these structures over here are the vas deferens coming up from the testes. Okay. Remember, the testes are outside of the body in the scrotum, testicles, and that's because they're very sensitive. Sperm production is very sensitive to temperature regulation. Okay, so basically they're outside the body. The testicles usually descend very early, not before birth, shortly after birth. And this is the vas deferens or ductus deferens that bring sperm back to basically into the prostate up to the ejaculatory duct. The other thing that you see on the side, if you actually look underneath here, and we'll see these better on the reproductive models, these structures down here are seminal vesicles. Okay, and seminal vesicles will add fluid to the sperm, just like the prostate will, and it forms semen. Okay, so as far as the parts go, you have the vas deferens, the seminal vesicles, the ureters, the kidneys, urinary bladder, the muscle is the detrusor muscle. You have your trigone, which is ureteral openings, and the internal urethral orifice. Okay, and this here is the prostatic urethra. This is the prostatic urethra. The male urethra has got three distinct parts to it. Okay, on this model, you can see the prostatic urethra running through the prostate. Okay, and the ejaculatory duct will run into there as well. Okay, we'll see the other parts later next week sometime. Okay, so that's this model. You have sort of the gross anatomy of the kidney, the microscopic with the nephron, and then the actual filter with structures around it. So, the kidney has an outer cortex, an outer capsule, which is a protective coating, just like the adrenal, just like many of the other organs that we've looked at. It then has a cortex, and it has a medulla. So it's very much like the adrenal gland, the way it's laid out. It's got an outer capsule, it's got a cortex, and then a medulla inside. Okay? In the cortex, you will have things like your renal columns. In the medulla, you'll have these dark reddish areas. These are your renal pyramids. The renal columns actually run through both. You will have your renal sinuses down here. And when you look at kidney, you look at two different things. You look at circulation and the pathway for urine production. So let's look at the circulation first. This is the renal artery. It's on the back of the sheet I gave you. This is the renal artery and vein. This is the segmental. This is the interlobar. This is the arcuate. And these are the interlobular. Now in the book it's going to call it something radiate artery.
Could you go over that again?
Let's just call it the interlobular. It's easier than that big fancy long name. Basically the same thing. So you have your renal artery, segmental artery, interlobar artery, arcuate artery, the arch or arcuate, interlobulars. Now the interlobulars we'll see are going to go into the nephron now. So here you have, this is an interlobar, and this is an arcuate, and here's your interlobular. The interlobulars will go into the afferent arterioles, which you can see here. This is a blow-up of really of the Bowman's capsule, the renal corpuscle, and glomerulus. Okay, and this is the blood flowing in. This is the afferent arteriole. Okay, here's those juxtaglomerular cells I talked about, the ones that produce renin. This is the juxtaglomerular cells. The whole thing is actually the juxtaglomerular apparatus, which includes basically the distal tubule and this over here, combination. These are the juxtaglomerular cells. Okay. Blood then goes into the filter, which is the glomerulus, and it comes out the afferent arteriole, which is the fourth thing. Afferent arteriole would include A in, just like an afferent neuron going into the nervous system, and an efferent arteriole, just like an efferent neuron going away from the nervous system. It's efferent. Okay. The efferent will then take blood to either the peritubular capillaries, peritubular meaning around the tubules. Remember, I've already talked a little bit about it. Things have to be brought back that are filtered. They need to bleed and come back into the blood. Once they're filtered, they have to get back and reabsorb. So all these tubules are surrounded by peritubular capillaries. And if you have a really long nephron, like this one, juxtamedullary nephron, you've got what we call vasa recta. Vasa recta. You can see these better on that model. But these would be peritubulars, and these would be vasa recta here. All vasa recta means a straight vessel. And then it'll go back into the venous system. The peritubular veins, back, let's say, into a arcuate vein, into lobar vein, into this controversy. Sometimes you'll see segmental veins, sometimes you won't, but basically segmentals into the renal vein. And that's the circulation. Renal, segmental, interlobar, arcuate, interlobular, afferent arteriole, into the glomerulus, efferent arterioles, into the peritubular capillaries, or the vasa recta. And then it'll come back to the venous system. Now urine, on the other hand, is going to go through a bunch of different tubes. Basically, the whole thing is about forming urine, getting rid of waste products. Okay? And the formation of urine is going to be through the nephron, which is the functional unit of the kidneys. Okay? There are millions of nephrons in both kidneys. Okay? So you have a nephron here, and what they did is they blew them up here. Now, the two types of nephrons are ones that are going to be more in the cortex, cortical nephrons, and ones that are going to be more in the medulla, juxtamedullary nephrons. The juxtamedullary ones are going to be the ones that will concentrate and dilute the urine, because they're going to go down and eventually we'll take a look at it hopefully next week, concentration differences as you go deeper into the kidney. Okay, and it can, depending on what's going on, can either concentrate or dilute the urine. Okay, because one side is actually permeable to water, one side is not permeable to water, and the concentration gradients change. It gets lower, higher. So, let's take a look at the nephrons, which I drew for you on the picture. You start out with these structures here, which are the renal corpuscles. You can see these little white dots on here, the renal corpuscles. And when you cut it, you can actually see the filter, okay, which is the glomerulus. Okay, and the white part is Bowman's capsule. So this shell is Bowman's capsule, and the filter itself is the glomerulus. The whole thing is the renal corpuscle. So blood is filtered, okay, and the glomerulus we'll see is a 3-layered sieve. Okay, it will filter on 3 different layers. Okay, basically, the only thing that will not get through are blood cells. They're too large, okay, and medium and large proteins. So if you did a urine analysis and you saw blood in your urine, or you did the test and the urine analysis and they found blood in your urine, or they found protein in your urine, something's up. Okay. The first part of the nephron is the proximal convoluted tubule. Proximal convoluted tubule. And then you have the loop of Henle, the descending limb and the ascending limb of the loop of Henle. Don't worry about thick and thin limbs and things like that. We're going to call it the ascending and the descending limb. That's it. You're then going to come up into the distal convoluted tubules and into your collecting ducts. Now the collecting ducts, as you can see, will feed in a number of different nephrons here. And everything will be filtered down, not filtered, but be brought down into the papillary duct, which are down here. Papillary ducts, into a minor calyx, and minor calyxes come into major calyxes, and all the major calyxes come into the renal pelvis, which is sort of by the hilus of the kidney, your renal pelvis and the renal artery and vein. And then the renal pelvis becomes the ureter, and then the ureter will go down into the urinary bladder, and so on, out the urethra. So again, urine formation, Bowman's capsule, or if you look inside, you can see the glomerulus, or even the outer shell of Bowman's capsule, of the renal corpuscle is Bowman's capsule. So this is Bowman's, this is glomerulus. Proximal tubules, descending limb of the loop of Henle, ascending limb of the loop of Henle, distal tubules, collecting ducts, papillary duct, minor calyx. A number of minor calyxes make major calyxes. The major calyxes come together as the renal pelvis, and then that becomes the ureter. So in here, you've got the afferent arteriole, juxtaglomerular cells, glomerulus, Bowman's capsule, proximal convoluted tubule, and over here is actually the distal tubule. This is the magnum densa. And then blood will come out the efferent arteriole and then go to the peritubule as a vasorector, as I showed you before. So those are the 2 kidney models. You want me to do the last one and get it over with, or you want to wait until Monday? I don't know if your brain's